The Southwest Care Center is a huge sponsor of tonight's premiere of La Mission, and I know that Southwest Care Center really connected with one of the big issues of the film in LGBT and being closeted, and that kind of leading towards some more risky behavior. And I know that Southwest Care Center works with a lot of the folks in town with rapid HIV testing, with counseling, and things like that. And I think that right there deserves a great hand, doesn't it? Yeah. And maybe you two can speak a little bit to how that kind of attitude got juxtaposed into this film.
I mean, I think the film looks at different things like class and gender and sexuality, and certainly race is a part of it. Che is, he's a man at middle age, and probably when he was a boy, like the real life Che, he experienced overt and forms of racism. And he also comes from a family of migrant workers who also experienced, blatant forms of racism. And so that's still with him. And so there's a lot of animosity and resentment towards white folks, as there is, within our communities. And yet, for a lot of the younger, what we call the hip-hop generation, who maybe aren't as aware or don't have the same experience, it's a totally different world. There are a lot of young people, I work with a lot of young people who don't know about the civil rights struggle. I was a child of the civil rights movement. I was a movement kid during the American Indian movement, occupation of Alcatraz, and so, I'm very much aware of it, but my young nieces and nephews, they're not. And so, in combination with that, when I was writing the script, I talked to a lot of young queers of color who experience a really particular kind of alienation. Oftentimes they're kicked out of their families. They're not accepted by their immediate family, let alone the general community. And at the same time, the general gay community, which is also white, at least in San Francisco, and middle class, they don't feel entirely accepted there because they also experience forms of racism. And so they're kind of caught between these two worlds where they don't really feel comfortable in either one, and they kind of exist in a no man's land, which deepens the sense of alienation, which, as you mentioned, leads oftentimes to self-destructive behavior, unsafe sex practices, experimenting with substance abuse, and oftentimes these young people take their own lives. I know that's happening in record number on reservations with young LGBT natives. So I think all those things kind of come in. They're not, we don't actually name them, but certainly Che, he has that resentment towards the dominant culture. And to see his son is not only gay, but with, a white person, it's a double whammy, it's a double threat. So.